everybody. Welcome to Film Shrapnel. This is your number one spot for everything movies. My name is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm going to be your host of the day. And Craig is here. He'll be your host for the day. There's no Tobias anymore. Just Arnold. Hello. How are you,
Hello.
Craig?
I'm good. How are you, Arnie?
Fantastic. Fantastic. I got to watch one of my greatest movies for the podcast.
How was it rewatching it after all these years?
Oh, it's exactly how I remember it, incredibly poignant, not remotely shit at all. It's great. It's great. Not remotely. No perfect dialogue, none of these one-liners. It's just a very good, tightly knit movie.
What's your favorite thing about it so far?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yourself.
Exactly. Is there anybody else? Not your Sub-Zero, not your Dynamo, not any O. Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger. But what's your favorite part of this movie, Arnie?
Arnie. You don't call me Arnie. You call me Mr. Schwarzenegger.
Mr. Schwarzenegger, sorry, I apologize. Please don't hurt me.
It's okay, you little girly man.
What's your favorite scene from this movie?
Well, the greatest scene of any Arnold Schwarzenegger movie is a scene where I say, I'll be back. And in this movie, someone says something back to me. And that's what makes it different in this one. Some people say I do the same thing over and over, but we mix it up in this one. Someone replies. I usually don't give them time to reply. Oh, that was fun. I like doing Arnie. It's good fun.
It is good fun, yeah.
To hell with you. He says that. A lot of people don't realise.
To hell with you.
Many Arnold. To hell with you. He says it all the time. It's like in loads of movies. It's in Conan. It's in this. I love him. I love it. Well, look, we're doing Running Man. Fucking love Running Man. I love Arnie. But this isn't a great... It's not a work of art, this film. But it's still fucking great. Really good laugh. Takes itself more seriously than Death Race 2000. But still, tongue-in-cheek in places it needs to be.
Yeah, and we see a lot of the same themes in this movie.
We do. Before we get into the specifics of the film, Craig, I have a really, really fun fact about this film.
Go on.
And I often have fun facts about directors for you, and I'll go, oh, this person did this, or this person did this. Do you know who directed The Running Man?
I didn't write that down. No, who directed this movie?
Paul Michael Glaser. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't think I do.
He's Starsky from Starsky and Hutch.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Isn't that really like just a weird thing, like a weird factoid? Starsky from Starsky and Hutch did Running Man. I don't even know if he did any other films.
Yeah, I was just going to say if he's done anything else, because I don't really think of the guy from Starsky and Hutch producing movies.
Well, this is it. If you said to me Starsky and Hutch, just because of my age, I'd probably think of Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. I mean, I am aware of the old show, and I have seen the old show, and some of the, I think they made a movie as well. I had the movie on DVD. Love the car. I did like Starsky and Hutch. And what's his name? David Soul played Hutch. I think that's his name. And he had a music career after Starsky and Hutch. So I am very aware of them. But if I'm honest, I think my brain goes to Ben Stiller first before Paul Michael Glaser. And he did.
Yeah.
But now, if you tell me Paul Michael Glaser, I'm going to go to Running Man instead. As much as I like Starsky and Hutch, I'm going Running Man.
Yeah, well, this is... I would argue that for our generation now... Actually, no, that's not true. I was going to say that this film is more well known as Starsky and Hutch, perhaps.
I don't know. I really don't know. That's that's a really difficult because I wouldn't call Running Man uh, well known by like today's generation, but I'm not sure what their attitude is towards Starsky and Hutch at all. But
Well,
like
like us, they would
you
probably
know,
only have really seen Ben Stiller,
well,
so
yeah.
it's hard to say.
Oh, I suppose maybe Starsky and Hutch might be more famous then than Running Man because
Mm,
I have to say, like some people, even only a few years younger than me, they are very aware of Schwarzenegger, but Running Man isn't something that was on their radar. Um, like obviously he's more well known for things like Terminator and Predator anyway. But like growing up for me, I was always a massive Arnie fan, even as a kid, and this was one of the films I used to watch a lot. I've a huge amount of nostalgia for this film. However, I will say after rewatching it after so many years, it isn't 100% as good as I thought it was, but it's still about 95. I think I
yeah.
I think I'd forgotten I think I'd forgotten just how saturated the film was with one-liners. I remembered some of the best and worst one-liners, but sometimes you literally have two one-liners for the same kill. I'll get into my example later, but yeah, like I do think this film oversaturates itself with making it an Arnie film, and then you lose a bit of the commentary because you're sort of being what you're setting out to criticize, I guess.
Hmm.
Like like turning people into icons for murder. And I suppose that really is Arnold Schwarzenegger in a nutshell. He's an action hero. So he's famous for murdering people. Just fake pretend murder, but still it's the same difference. So there is like a kind of irony there, and I think it's an unintentional irony as well. And that's what makes it a little bit worse that they were criticizing something while doing it a little bit themselves and not self-reflexively either, but just to help sell the film. Because Schwarzenegger does sell a film. Certainly at this when is Running Man like 88 or something?
I think it's
Like
87.
87? I mean, this is like Arnie is the height of his powers. He's huge at this point, and he further grows after this movie as well. But he is massive. He's
Hmm.
done Terminator already. He's done Predator already. He's done Conan already. Like he is already incredibly well known. Um, so yeah, I think them casting Schwarzenegger, they're thinking this is going to be a home run film. We're going to make a bunch of money. Um, but because of that, the film kind of contradicts itself and becomes
Yes.
what it sets out to criticize. Um, but having said that, I still really love it. Um, so do you want to get into the specifics, or do you have
Should
any
we?
do you have any preamble before you want to get into it?
Well, well, the first thing I think we might mention is that I didn't know that this was actually based on a book. Um,
Yes.
I thought it was just an idea that some screenwriter had and became a thing because a lot of the themes, like we literally just recorded Death Race 2000, and I'm looking over my
Mhm.
notes now, reminding myself what I wrote, and so many things are like similar in a lot of
Mm.
ways. I mean, there's one thing I'm going to say for the end that I just looked over. It's like, that's exactly what happens in Death Race. Um, so yeah, it's interesting knowing that it came from a book first and then became a film. I'm wondering how old
Mm.
that book is. I'm also wondering, and you probably already know about this, Edgar Wright is remaking The Running Man as well. Uh, but I'm not sure how far along that is and when that might come. Do you think that will be something worth watching?
What, Edgar Wright's going to remake Running Man?
Yeah, I think I saw on IMDb it's in pre-production,
Oh my
so I think
God.
it's
And
happening.
oh, Edgar Wright, please, if you're listening, and you're definitely not, but please, Edgar Wright, cast Arnie to play Killian. You don't need to bring
Oh,
him. Don't bring him back to play the same character. Bring him back to play the host of the show. That I would fucking eat that up. Or maybe like a studio executive or something. Like, because I do think making Killian like the sort of driving force of like the corruption of the broadcast network. Like it's easy to weave together the bad guy for the host of a show, but like I don't find it realistic that the host of the show is the main bad guy. I think there should be a higher power that he answers to, further up the ladder, where the corruption
that
is really stemming from.
yeah. I mean, you assume the people that are because in the end of we're jumping a lot here, but yeah. Um, at the end of the movie, Schwarzenegger kills this guy Killian, who's the host, and he's our main bad guy. He's controlling the race, and it's kind of played that it's the end and everything is saved and the world will be better. But he is just a TV host. Someone else is controlling everything else. There's a whole like the whole in this futuristic society, which I think they say is like we're assuming it's like 50 years from 1987 to like 2037 or whatever. Uh, like everything is kind of controlled by like the justice system, and like the justice system is like got a broadcasting division which like hosts this show. So like really, if you get rid of the host, it's just like it's a big weed, but it's not the king weed. It's not getting the root of the systematic problems in
Yeah.
this futuristic America, you know.
I mean, I suppose we're to assume that the rebels are going to continue to rise against and continue their sort of taking back of America. But we never see that. We just see Killian being the main like antagonist. But I do. There's a few things that they point out. Like Killian, he calls like the Justice Department entertainment division, and I
Yeah,
thought that I really like things like that. Yeah, I really like the sort of corporate side of this film. And I think Killian is a great bad guy. I just would have liked, maybe someone further up the chain of command to make an appearance in some way.
yeah.
Uh,
I was looking into him, and he was actually a TV host for a lot of different shows in America. He's actually an English guy, by the
oh,
way.
he really?
Yeah, he's
I mean,
English.
he's perfect for the role. He really is a TV show host.
Yeah,
He's very, very good. And, yeah, I thought he gives the best performance. He's a really charismatic villain. But it's
yeah.
also really fun watching him get his comeuppance at the end as well. But I'll save that for the end. Shall we just start from the beginning of the film, Craig, and then work our way through it? Because all my
Go on.
notes are mostly in chronological order, so I can remember things. And to be fair, I have watched this film maybe hundreds of times.
You're the best
I
guy to tell
really
us the
like.
story then.
I suppose so. Well, okay. Well, let me ask you this, Craig. How long did it take you to go? Are we going to get to a death game or what? Because Death
Um,
Race 2000, they jump right into the race, but in this one, I don't think we get to see them do Running Man until at least the 40-minute mark.
I was about to say 40 minutes. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Um.
But we have to set up the
So,
characters.
well, true. Well, we open with they're on a They're in a helicopter. Arnie's flying. He's like the leader, and he's saying, "Hey, listen to the children down there. The hell with you." So he refuses orders to basically fire on civilians. Um, and then like headquarters say to the rest of the helicopter, like, take command, take him out. And then they continue with the plan. And as it turns out, they've now basically stitched up Schwarzenegger, um, calling him the Butcher of Bakersfield, and pinning the entire massacre on him. And so we cut to him at like a prison labor camp, like a steelworks labor camp. And everyone there has like these exploding neck braces, which you'll see is an ongoing theme in Death Games as well, because they're in Battle Royale too. Mm-hmm. And then Arnie sort of befriended these two other prisoners called Weiss and Lachlan, and they've like planned a prison escape. There's like this big fight, and I'll tell you this, Craig. There's something I love so much about seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger wielding heavy rifles one-handed, and then when he fires them, there's no recoil as well. Like because I don't know if you've ever held a rifle, but they're fucking heavy. You have?
Yeah.
They're really heavy.
Shotguns.
I've never shot one. But I've held one. But yeah, really, really very, very heavy. That like they're designed for it to be a two-handed gun, and like there are some films where he'll dual wield heavy rifles as well. Like yeah, there's just something so cool when he does that.
I also noticed there's a few times in this film where there's a sequence of shots, like you see some guy shooting a gun towards Schwarzenegger, then you see Schwarzenegger, then he shoots with his massive gun, and that guy dies, and then it's another guy and he dies. Schwarzenegger never gets shot, but he always gets the target, and it's just the way that they do the shots. I think it happened a few times, like at this point at the beginning where they have the prison break, and much later on in the movie. It's just very standardized.
I will say, I would love to do Commando with you, Craig. Commando's a great Schwarzenegger film, and in Commando, when for the climax of the film at the end, it's literally Arnie against an entire like military, like a small army, and he imagine playing Grand Theft Auto with all the cheats unlocked. Unlimited ammo, unlimited guns, unlimited health, like, and it has to be. It's so cool as well. All the weapons he uses so many weapons, Craig. There's a reason I say Grand Theft Auto, because he really does have so many weapons for this action scene. But it's all strapped to him from the beginning of the fight. It's all like you can see it on his body. You can see them, all the guns, the rocket launchers. It's fucking so cool, Commando. I love the final fight. But like you say, you'll have hundreds of people shooting at him, and no one hits him, and then he'll fire one gun. Okay, it's an automatic gun. It's an automatic rifle, but he's firing one gun. He kills everyone. So yeah. But that's just Schwarzenegger. That's Schwarzenegger films, man. But I suppose, yeah. It is a bit world breaking. You'd like to see him get shot like once or twice, deal with a bullet once or twice,
or maybe just miss, just not get the guy in the first shot.
Yeah. Do you? We also see a head explode at the beginning, which is fun. And then we're met with the music, the theme tune of The Running Man. What did you think of that?
I don't remember it. Can you sing it for me?
Oh. Okay, now that you've put me on the spot, I've got Terminator in my head. I'm trying to go back to Running Man. Hang on. I mean, there's the song at the end in the credits where it's like, roll the dice, do 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 do. There's something, think twice, or whatever, however it goes. But that's quite
So
very 80s. Yeah, very, very 80s. It's very. Oh, I forget now how it goes, and I've just got Terminator in my head. Fuck.
I didn't find it memorable enough to think about. I don't know.
it's. But I just remember I've written in my notes here, like it's really ambient, and when a lot of the music and the soundtrack really is super good. Yet there I go again using super as an adjective.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, there are. I think a lot of the soundtrack really does do a good job in this film. For me, I really like the ambient sort of uh, background music. Um, and then we get a shot of LA. Do you remember this? There's the establishing shot of this future LA perfectly depicts the difference in class in one shot. You get
I did.
the foreground. Say again.
I was going to say I didn't pick up on this, but go on.
No, in the foreground, like you have like at the bottom of like LA, you have like the sort of slummy areas, but in the background, you've got all these super high-rise buildings and skyscrapers and industrial complexes and all this sort of you know big money in the background, but in the foreground, you've got people struggling on the street. And one shot tells you everything you need to know about this universe. And you
Isn't that
don't
just
need.
LA in general? From what I've
Yeah, I
heard, there's
know,
a lot
but
of homelessness.
yeah, no, of course, but like in the future, the disparity is much more than it is today, and obviously there's a lot more people living in the slums of this sort of future LA than the super wealthy. But a really nice shot, needless to say, and I'm sure there's bits in there that uh, show you it's the future as well. Like I say, you just get the whole universe shown to you in one shot, and I just think I like that. And for an hour 40-minute film, one shot was pretty succinct. But I don't think the opening of this film is very succinct. I would have liked to have gotten to the game a bit sooner and maybe spent more time playing the game than setting up the sort
Mhm.
of backstory of Richards,
How long
aka
is this film?
Schwarzenegger. Hour 40.
Hour 40. So the first 40 minutes we're setting it up, and then we only get an hour of game. Hmm.
I've got a feeling it might even be like 50 minutes. Like, I don't, I feel like the opening is longer than the actual game itself.
Yeah, it does take a while to get there, but I think
Mm.
we're judging it a bit too much on Death Race 2000 a little bit because that was
Oh,
so
no,
fast. Within 10 minutes, we're in there.
I just think that, you have, like, this film, it has elements of succinct storytelling, but then it also chooses to draw out um, the opening. Like, uh, I feel like you could establish all of this in, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. You can open the film exactly the same. You have the helicopter scene, and then you cut to the prison camp, the labor camp. You have them do the prison break, and then you cut to Killian seeing him on the TV. He's like, look at that big bastard. I'll get 2 points in the ratings for each bicep. And and you just go straight to that, and then he calls the Justice Department of Entertainment and like ensures that he gets permission to have him. And then you just do the scene where you don't even need to do the scene where he gets caught. Although that's how we meet Amber, the female love interest.
Do you recognize
Not,
her, by the way?
I do recognize her. She's in Predator 2.
And she's also in Vampire's Kiss.
She's also in Vampire's Kiss, yes.
Yeah,
She's Ulma.
yeah, the girl that's kind of like abused by Nick
Yeah.
Cage.
She's great. I like her a lot.
Yeah,
Really
she's
good
awesome.
actress. Yeah. And I really like her in this as well. Um,
I was wondering if the reason why it took so long for this to get to the running, if we'll call it that, the game, is I think they felt they needed to have certain things for this movie to work, to be set up. one, they had to set up that Schwarzenegger is a fugitive, but he's also a good guy. So that's why we had the whole thing of
Yeah.
him like, but also he has to be a tough guy as well. So he's a tough, good guy who's also a fugitive due to circumstances. So I think because of that complexity, we had to have the whole thing of establishing that he wouldn't kill
Mm.
people, then he's in prison. And then
And
also
we
we
also
had, was it?
establish. I was just say we also established the rebels and the resistance fighters as well. They're actually that we spend a lot more time with them in this than we do in Death Race 2000. They're a lot more integral to the plot.
Yeah. And there's even also, what did you say her name was Amber? Forgot her
Amber
name.
Mendez. Amber
Yes.
Mendez.
So I think they also wanted to establish a love interest for him as well.
Do you think they have like? I like their sort of back and forth, but do you think they have romantic chemistry? I didn't really buy them kissing each other at the end. Spoiler alert. I feel like the
Hmm?
kiss sort of comes out of left field.
I get what you mean, yeah. It didn't feel completely right.
No, I feel like they didn't remotely show them building any sort of romance. Certainly not. Uh, they just have survived. They're just trying to survive. If anything, they didn't like each other very much at first.
Mm.
Oh no, actually, tell a lie. There is one bit, although it's a really weird line, where after he gets recaptured and goes through the network and he sees her again by like a water cooler with a colleague. And the colleague says, look at that man. I wish he'd kill and rape me or something weird like that.
Yeah, there was something very weird like that. Yeah.
I
That
didn't write the line down, but it really took me off guard. Like, why would you say that? That is so weird. Like a man like that, who could stop him? And it's like that
yeah.
turns you on, huh? That in the future, that's what's sexy. Really weird.
Mhm.
It's really weird.
There's also a speaking of rape, I guess, fucked up bit that happens. So there's one
There is a fucked up bit later, yeah.
yeah, so we have one character called Dynamo, who is like,
Yeah.
what did they call him? These guys, they're like kind of like gladiators who the runners meet and try and kill the runners. I think they had a phrase. Was
I,
it a stalker,
I
or was that?
yeah, yeah,
Am I just
they
thinking of the
call
film Stalker?
they call the champions stalkers and
Yeah,
the prisoners the runners. But I think when they introduce Dynamo, they say something like opera related in his introduction.
yeah.
Like the
And he's
falsetto warrior, Dynamo, or I don't know, some weird thing like that. I'm still doing my
yeah.
Death Race 2000 host voice. I can't do Killian.
And yeah, this guy, he has like some electric power thing. He's just some fat guy with lights on him, and he gets spared from Schwarzenegger after he has an accident. He's like whimpering to be helped, and later on he encounters Amber when they're like when all the shit's kicking off towards the end, and she makes an insult towards him, and he
She
literally
calls him
tries.
she
Go on.
she calls him dickless.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I'll show you, Dickless," or something like this.
Yeah,
And then I think I'm not sure what happens next. He gets taken out, and you see that his trousers are down, and he's like in his
yeah.
pants. And I was like, "Wow, fuck!" He was literally about to rape her. I was really not
Yeah.
expecting to see that, both that in this
I,
movie. I thought that was quite fucked up.
and I felt it also, it has to be said that his trousers just are suddenly not there between shots. We don't see him take them off. Like he's restraining her the whole time, and it's just suddenly his trousers aren't there. So
Hmm.
there was like bad editing involved in that scene as well. But like, I suppose with a costume like that, you can't really film yourself taking it off. It does look like a complicated costume. But then, yeah, she shoots the sprinkler system and he gets electrocuted.
Okay, there we
That's how
go.
she gets away.
Yeah.
Um, so, can we talk about how they met?
Yes.
So when Arnie escapes with the rebels, and then the rebels help him get his necklace off, they establish that there's propaganda centered around Schwarzenegger. And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not political. I'm not going to join you guys. I'm just going to go to my brother, and he'll get me out the city." And he gets to his brother's house, whose password to get in, by the way, is 445566. I noticed that. I know how to get into his gaff now. So he goes to his brother's place, and Amber is living there instead. And she's been living there a month. I think she tells him that he's being re-educated, and she got to move in. And so Arnie like ties her up and shit, so she can't like run away and like blow his cover, because everyone knows he's the quote unquote butcher of Bakersfield.
Can I also just add here again about the code? So his brother has been taken away, and this apartment is now given to someone else, and yet they kept the same code. They didn't change it.
Yeah, ridiculous, right? And again, how would they know what the code is? Like, I feel like that they didn't think everything through when writing this film. But I do think that lends to its charm as well.
Perhaps, yeah. But we never find out what happened to his brother.
No.
Like,
all we hear is he's gone for re-education. That's all we get told. So does that mean he's in a labor camp like Arnie was? Does it mean he's just been killed, or what is this? But we know something's happened, and we know it's because of this sort of, the fascism that's been birthed out of future capitalism. We also see Jesse Ventura. Do you know who Jesse Ventura is?
I'm not sure I do.
He was also a bit of a muscle man in the same era as Arnie. He was also in Predator as one of the guys in Predator. He's the one that's like, I ain't got time to bleed. But he also, if I'm not mistaken, also became governor of California or somewhere like that. Like, I'm sure he became a governor of an American state as well. Jesse the Body Ventura.
Is this the guy who was the chainsaw?
No, I think his name's Captain Freedom.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah. I remember him.
We're introduced to him really early on because Amber is watching a workout video that he's done. So we know that once you've retired from being a stalker, you become like a really big public figure. You are now a television personality. You live your life very comfortably, blah, blah, blah. So there's admiration for these stalkers. They are American heroes, even though they're murdering all these people in cold blood. And as it turns out, most of these people aren't the murderers that they tell the audience they are, but more often than not, people that are being wrongly accused of stuff, like Schwarzenegger and like his prison break buddies that they also bring in as like a sort of mid-film twist. But I just want to quickly point out, so he tied up Amber, and he says to her, like, he forces her to basically buy him a ticket to like Hawaii or something, so he can get out and like just assimilate into a new place and just live his life. And he says to her, "And now you're going to come with me." And she says something like, "Well, what if I say no?" And he goes, "I'm going to say please," and like lifts the gym equipment that's been screwed down into the floor with one hand, just lifts it up slowly. I would be terrified if I was her. Arnie's pretty scary in this scene. But we know
He
that
must.
he's just doing it because he's, you know, he's he knows he tries to tell her this is. I'll tell you this one time. It's all bullshit, all of it. But you know, he still can't trust her to not sort of grass him up as the butcher of Bakersfield, which she does when they get to the airport. Although, can we talk about the airport?
Go on.
Pre 9/11 airports in movies, they're just so amusing. So he scans his ticket with the guy, and then the guy's like, "And now your ticket to Amber," and they don't have a ticket for her. So he just like fumbles around in the bag. Oh, she always brings all this bullshit when we got holiday. What a crazy bitch. And he's like being a dick about it. And then eventually the security guy's like, "Oh, just go through." And it just makes me laugh. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? In my lifetime, certainly, I can't imagine anyone doing that in an airport.
No.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. So yeah, found that fun.
Yeah.
But then she like
Also,
the moment they get
so-
through, like that scene's a waste of time because they get through and she immediately whistle blows him. So she could have whistle blowed him when there was a security guy right in front of them. But she decided to wait until they got on the into an area where he could have a chase on the runway. Convenient.
mhm. You need
Sorry, I
your
cut
chase
you off
scene.
there. Yeah, you need your chase scene.
Yeah, but there's something that I found quite interesting about this movie that I really liked, and I think it's still quite well. The way it looks is not great now, reflecting on it, but the idea is pretty cool and
Yeah.
a bit worrying. Is the whole thing about like faking footage? So this happens a few times.
Yes.
They doctor the recording of Ben killing people uh, at Bakersfield. That one is not too well done, that recording, but they fake the whole thing. What happens to Amber at the airport? So they make it that he killed someone there when he got away, and she's like, that
Yeah.
didn't happen because she was right there. He didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, that's it.
And later,
That's why she becomes sus, and like that's why she
yeah,
becomes more involved with sort of. Oh, I'm going to research this shit and find out.
yeah. And then we also have a scene later on where they fake Ben's death at the
Yeah,
hands of this guy Jesse Ventura, or whoever
and
what character he played,
Amber. I think
and
Amber
Amber as
dies in
well.
that as
Yeah,
well. But yeah,
but
it's fun because Jesse Ventura because Schwarzenegger's with spoiler alert. By this point, he's killed fucking everyone. So
yeah,
Ventura really doesn't want to go in as a stalker. He's like, "Fuck that! I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." Like, what was it? He said something earlier. He's like, I used to eat guys like him for breakfast. Then by the end of the movie, he's like, "I'm not fucking about with this guy."
yeah, and but yeah, the whole thing about faking footage and everything, I think it's very uh worrying, and it's something that
Yeah.
like is done to keep control. You can imagine society. Well, I think we already have examples of it in the real world now,
Oh yeah.
where governments are faking events and stuff like this with fake footage or whatever
Yeah.
to maintain control, to maintain an image that this guy's the bad guy, we're the good guys, you know. Um, so yeah, I thought that was quite cool.
Happens all over the world, and like I say, Running Man, it's very poignant. I think all of the films that we're going to be discussing this month are very poignant to even today, right now. Um, should we just get into the game? Should we just start the
Go
game?
on.
I think we've pretty much covered everything. We've done the runway chase. He gets caught. Oh, of course. And then Killian convinces him to do the Running Man show. But yeah, now we're all caught up. And then Showtime uh, at the network on the soundstage, we introduce Schwarzenegger to the world as the new runner. And then the moment he gets strapped in and we have a little surprise for you, Ben. Your prison buddies. And now the two rebel fighters that helped him escape and he helped them escape, they're now being forced to run with him. He's like, you son of a bitch, Killian.
Go to hell. Oh, to hell with you.
you. The hell with you. So yeah, that's like, and like I say, the moment he gets strapped in is when it's revealed. And then this is when we get because every Arnie movie needs an I'll be back moment. And we get it here where he gets strapped in, and right before he gets released into the game arena, he says to Killian, I'll be back. And then Killian leans in, only in a rerun. And then he gets launched. And I'm like, you know what? I really like that. I mean, when I was doing my Arnie bit at the beginning of the episode, I mentioned, it makes it more interesting when someone responds to my I'll be back. A different response would make it different. And I have to say, there's a part of me that's unironically saying that as well. There's a part of me that's like, I do really like the response only in a rerun because, it's just...
He's supposed to die.
It's a little witty, It's just a little wit. I like it. I like a bit of wit. Even in my one-liners, if there's a bit of wit involved, I'm going to love it. So, yeah. Oh, I did think it was a big coincidence that the woman that grassed him up worked at the network, though. That was too much of a coinky-dink. Oh, I'm suspicious that maybe he is a good guy. Lucky I work at the place I can find out the truth,
And
but
he
can
does.
also catch me in the act and send me into the game. So yeah. So Amber does get sent into the game. Oh, I'll tell you. Oh, there is one. I did write one line down. We've skipped this moment. I love this line, Craig. You see, all of these one-liners are really fun, but some of them are shit. Some of them are great. There's a bit where like a talent guy says to Arnie to sign here, and like he turns his back so he can use his back as a table. And then when Arnie signs his name, he stabs the pen into the contract, into the guy's back. And the guy looks at him and he goes, send me a copy. I love that line. I do like the one-liners, Craig. I know they're a bit shit, but I do like the one-liners. So yeah, so this is where the game begins.
Yes.
And we can now talk about this death game that's good fun. Oh, really briefly, they also reveal that there was really briefly, before they launch Arnie in, they reveal that there was 3 previous winners called Whitman, Price, and Haddad. And that's important because we are promised that if you do well as a runner, you will get things like prison pardons or decreased jail time or this, that, or the other as rewards. And so they've implied these 3 winners are now living on a beach in Hawaii because they won the Running Man.
Hawaii is the ultimate destination in this movie.
Say
all
again.
the time. Hawaii is always seen as like the paradise escape. Whether you want to escape from the US or if you just want to win a prize, Hawaii is where you're going.
Absolutely. Isn't that how they set up the sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer? They win a trip to Hawaii. Something like that. So yeah, so they set up this thing that will come back later. I'll save it for later, but it does come back. But yeah, so the game starts and Weiss, Lachlan, and Richards team up. Now, how did you feel about the rules of the game? Because it is quite confusing. Did you think it was...
Is there even rules? I thought it's just run to the end and don't die. Isn't that it?
Well, yeah, but if you remember, there's bits where the audience are like called upon in a sort of Price is Right kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And like, a lucky member of the audience will get to pick a stalker. And if it does this kind of damage or that kind of a kill, you get like different prizes or whatever the fuck. So like there is this sort of interaction with the audience that we see glimpses of, and it seems to be integral to the rules of the game. But they're not overly explained. They just pick a stalker. We see them pick a stalker, and then when the stalker is like kicking ass, we see them receiving loads of prizes.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we also see people outside gambling on stalkers making different kills or what have you. Like, I don't really know what else you can bet on besides will they kill. And like, obviously they all kill. So how can you lose? And
Well,
how would the house win? So surely there must be other stuff that you're
mm,
betting on. Surely. But
I
but
don't.
they don't 100% explain it. But again, later in the film, they have to change their rules. But again, we'll get to that when it comes up.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, now uh, it doesn't make much sense. What are they really betting on? Uh,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
I'm not sure. Like, uh, I forget now what the big chalkboard says because they're
I
writing on the
think.
chalkboard all the bets you can do, and I don't recall
Well, I
exactly
guess
your
it's
bet.
like who
The,
who will the stalker kill next? Because there was four of them at the first. So you have
hmm,
Schwarzenegger, Amber, and the two other guys. So which is the stalker going to kill? This guy first, that guy first, something like that. I don't know.
yeah, maybe. Um, well, speaking of that, that's where we get this. She picks Sub-Zero, the woman who selected to play, who I actually thought was really good at the acting. I thought she was really credible as like a game show contestant. I know it's like such a side character, but her performance, I was like, I really buy you as like I felt like her performance sold the idea that this was a real TV show. So as much as she's only a very, very small character, I thought her
Do you
performance
appreciate it?
I really did appreciate her performance. It really helped sell this really is a game show on a TV. I can see it. I can buy it. Um, Whereas I think the other contestants, not so much. I mean, they still do give decent performances. But the first one I thought was really doing a job. But she picked Sub-Zero, and I didn't look this up. And I hope people don't think this is a racist comment because he's an Asian actor who's also heavy set. But I'm pretty sure the actor who plays Sub-Zero is Oddjob from the James Bond films.
Can I look that up?
Can we look it up? Do you know who Oddjob is?
I do.
The guy with the hat.
Frisbee hat.
Oddjob was cool. Yeah, frisbee hat.
So
But I'm
he's
sure.
Professor Tanaka.
Yes.
He's actually American.
Hmm.
Professional. He's a professional wrestler, boxer, martial artist, and actor. Uh,
Oh, don't. He's not Oddjob, is he? Have I been accidentally racist? Shit.
uh, hold on.
I won't cut it though.
His first movie was in 1981, so it can't be him because I think Oddjob would have been in the 60s era, right? With Sean
Was
Connery, if
Sean?
I'm
I
correct.
don't. No, I don't think it was Sean Connery. I don't think Oddjob was in a Sean Connery film. Oddjob was like a campy character, and I don't think they really got very campy until Roger Moore got involved. That's when it got um, well. Sorry, I tell a lie. It was campy during the Sean Connery era, but it became very campy with the Roger Moore era.
Yeah, well, y-
I'm just looking up Oddjob now.
it's a different guy. It's not this guy.
Harold
Oh, by the
Takata.
way, interesting. He died in Hawaii, the actor. So again, another Hawaiian connection.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, he
you're
was
right.
born.
You're right. Oddjob was in Goldfinger. You're right. He was Sean Connery era.
Well, I'm only right sometimes.
No, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. because I have seen James Bond, so I should know.
Yeah.
So
Have you
well done.
seen James Bond, have you?
I have seen a James Bond.
How many Bonds have you seen?
I've seen a few. I've seen a few Bonds. I bonded over Bond with a few.
You're going
Um,
Michael Caine.
I'm going Michael Caine because he's the one actor that probably should have played Bond and never got to, because now he's too old.
He's too working class, I think. Too
Oh,
working
oh,
class.
fuck that. I would. Sean Connery's too Scottish.
Maybe, but he's got a bit of charm to him.
He's got a bit of charm to him, absolutely. And you can't tell me Michael Caine don't have charm. But we digress. So, let's get into that fight with Sub-Zero. He has a blade hockey stick and he has exploding hockey pucks. And there's a goal net that also acts as a cage.
Yes, that traps you.
Yeah. What do you think of this sequence? Because
To be honest, like I think probably you've got a lot more to say than I do. Um, I just kind of let it happen. So okay, this is what's happening now. This is an 80s
well,
silly movie. So
what do you
that's logical, right? This is all normal. What's happening? I expect this from this movie.
see? My observation this time round after watching it was it's separated into four quarters, right? The game zone. They do mention that, and Sub-Zero is, ambushes them in the first quadrant. Now, when you give the audience the choice of Stalker, if they hadn't picked Sub-Zero, everyone would have struggled to kill each other on an ice rink. And
Well,
also Sub-Zero would have had a hard job ice skating outdoors with no ice. So it's
I,
like, as much as you
I
provided the illusion of choice, you literally can only use Sub-Zero in that first quarter where there's actually ice everywhere.
unless they're being led somehow, like the access. There's only
Oh,
certain
maybe.
ways that they can go. Like
Maybe.
areas are closed off.
Okay.
But
Okay, I'll
but
buy that.
that said, I don't think I'm right because there are plenty of moments where they just go off and wander around in different areas, which is even how we find the bodies of those guys who you mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
Uh, and they even find the
Well, yeah,
satellites and
that's
stuff.
another point. Yeah, this is a point I was going to bring up later. But when Fireball gets involved and he goes to kill them, he tries to kill them in a room where they discover Whitman, Price, and Haddad were never winners of the Running Man, but actually were murdered and left there, lightly burnt by Fireball. But they also imply that this is a live broadcast throughout the film a lot. So
Didn't everyone else just see
Fireball,
that?
yeah, well, either didn't everyone else do? Well, that's the thing. They do put it in that video at the end when they reveal the truth. So again, there must have been cameras in there. And
Hmm.
Fireball's job is to kill them on TV. But if they're going to cut this bit, Fireball needs to lure them out of this room in order to kill them. Like,
Which he
I feel
doesn't
like
do.
that whole sequence, which he doesn't do. So yeah, I have problems with that scene.
Me
Um,
too. But can I also
so who's
talking
your
about
favourite stalker?
my favorite
Come on, you make your
stalker?
point first.
Okay, all right. But the fireball guy, right? Uh, why
Yeah,
does he not die the first time? Because Schwarzenegger is throwing
because
these barrels at him.
I know he plays Donkey Kong. They play Donkey Kong halfway through. So he throws barrels at him, and then one of them blows up, and he's just able to walk through the flames.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
later,
but
he rips something, one of his pipes, and then he's able to explode. I don't get that.
Yeah.
Why did he not die the
So
first time?
so the first time it was an explosion in front of him, whereas the second time it was the big backpack of like gasoline he has on his back that blew up. So the explosion was attached to him, I guess.
Mm, I don't
I
know.
guess.
It To me, it seemed like he was definitely dead the first time, and then just walked through it. And then the second time just wasn't as
Yeah.
satisfying when he died, I would say.
No, true. True. I do think Fireball is the least satisfying Stalker because we don't get to see much of him, and his gimmick is he has a flamethrower, whereas I think the gimmicks of the other characters are a bit more fun. Although I don't like, okay, so like Dynamo, I don't like him because I don't. To be fair, I don't find Dynamo a very credible villain. Uh,
That's why I was
even
gonna say, because he'd be probably my favorite of them because he's so ridiculous and kind of useless.
really,
Yeah,
wow.
it's
I mean,
just fun watching him.
I would say I do quite like Sub-Zero, if I'm honest. I think that's also ridiculous. Dynamo, um, I just don't find him remotely intimidating. Um,
That that makes it funny to me. He's just a fat opera
yeah,
singer who shoots thunder, and then
yeah,
he
no,
he's
I
he's
don't
trying to
disagree.
he's chasing Schwarzenegger up a hill, and then the car just flips. He's like, "Oh, please help me!" Ah, some bullshit
What was
like
it?
this. It is just
Yeah, like Schwarzenegger says, "I don't kill any pathetic, helpless human being," or something like that. Um, but before we move on from Sub-Zero, the last thing we need to talk about his one-liner. Two
go on.
one-liners, actually. Uh, so he kills Sub-Zero with a wire and like chokes him out or something. And then he looks into a camera for the broadcast and he goes, "Here is your Sub-Zero, now plain zero." And so I think that's our example of a shit line. That's a shit line. That's not good. It's funny because it's shit, but like some of these one-liners are really fun. That one is fun because of how shit it is.
Yeah,
Whereas the other
you know,
ones are shitty fun.
yeah. There
And I'll
was
give you an example, right? Exactly late, like just straight after, he says to, I think, Amber, or he says to one of the guys in there, Sub-Zero, real pain in the neck. And it's like, that one is fun in a shit way, or is it fun in a shit way or shit in a fun way? I don't know. I can't keep track of these. I know
it,
there's a
it feel,
difference.
it feels like when they were writing this movie, it's like, okay, we have to have 3 or 4 stalkers. They have to find a way to kill each one. They have to have their own special thing and name. And we need a catchphrase for that's not a catchphrase, a one-liner for Schwarzenegger to say when they're killed. Like this is the we need to have all this ready, and then we can write a script around it,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I've got a feeling they came up with the game before anything else.
Yeah.
I think they wrote the film around the idea of the game, or sorry, wrote the
Hmm.
book out around that idea. Um, so
There was
should we talk about the fight with Buzzsaw against
Go on,
Arnie
go on.
and Dynamo against Weiss and Amber?
Tobias is
Huh?
in his zone. Wait, I'm just thinking that this is your favorite things, like uh these kind of matches, if we can call them.
Well, these kind of movies.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you like a showdown. You like a good showdown in a movie, and Arnie movies do them really well, I think. And you do get like like as much as the one-liners are shit, they can be quite satisfying. Um, And and again, this one line is fucking amazing. So I think this is around the time that we're like trying to get the code from the uplink satellite with Amber and Weiss, and Arnie's fighting Buzzsaw. I forget now. Does he lassos him, doesn't he, and then drags him around on the motorbike? And then it eventually gets to a point where they're just struggling with each other with the chainsaw, and Arnie just splits him
from the crotch.
And yeah, from the crotch up. And then when he bumps into Amber, because yeah, that's it. So Weiss and the other guy, they die. One getting chased by Dynamo, getting the code. One defending Arnie against Buzzsaw. So now they're dead, and now it's just Arnie and Amber. And Amber says to Arnie, "What happened to Buzzsaw?" And Arnie goes, "He had to split." And I really like that. I know it's shit, but I fucking love it. But what I found interesting, so Dynamo, he's all into opera. Like, that's a gimmick of his as well. But when Buzzsaw dies, he does like an operatic death cry. And I'm like, that's way more in line with the Dynamo character. Why would you... I don't understand why you wouldn't do that for Dynamo. And maybe some other kind of death cry for
because we're doing it to a guy's balls, so that's the thing. Whenever you hit someone in the balls,
whenever you hit someone in balls, they go falsetto.
Yeah, they have to scream like a woman. That's just how it always is in movies.
I guess so.
It's the standard.
But can I tell you my favourite line in the film?
Go on.
So, my favourite line is when I think they're off the air and Killian sends a message to Schwarzenegger. And he's like, "I want you to be next season's big stalker. You're huge. Everyone loves you. You're this, you're that." And I've written the line down verbatim, Craig, because it's just my favourite fucking line in the movie. He goes, "I'll live to see you eat that contract, but I hope you save enough room for my fist because I'm going to ram it into your stomach and break your goddamn spine." Fucking love that line.
That's the best line for him to deliver.
Yeah. So like I say, there are shit lines, but there are some fucking corkers.
There was. Can I give you one random odd line that I wrote down?
Yeah.
Like you should. Like, I was thinking about it. Like, how often does Schwarzenegger in movies say something wrong in the wrong way in English? Like, I can't think of anything really.
All
a lot, dialogue. Right? He's known for it. I know.
Sounds like the Cookie Monster half the time.
There was one bit, I'm skipping a bit ahead, where he meets up with the rebels and they're planning an attack. And he's like, "That's a bad move, make." And I was like, "What? Does he mean to make that?
Make?"
And I was kind of a bit surprised that like the director's like, "Could you just say that bit again?" Like, no. And then we can.
I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. I do one take only. One take only. It's the late 80s. I got a lot of movies to make. Hurry up. Make body make. It's okay.
That's a bad move make.
It's a bad move make. Don't make bad move makes.
Did you notice this line as well?
I actually hadn't noticed it. I hadn't noticed it. But I will take your word on it.
I had to go back and like double check. Like, did I hear that correctly? And yeah, he said it that way. I don't.
Did you have a bad sound make?
It's a bad move make.
It's a bad move make. I do love. I love how after a while people start betting on Schwarzenegger and they have to change the rules of the game. because some old woman is like, I think that Ben Richards will make the next kill. Like, oh, Gladys, you can't have that. You got to pick a stalker. I can pick whoever I want. That Ben Richards is a mean motherfucker. Like just hearing just hearing an 80-year-old woman say motherfucker is just so satisfying.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I think we've pretty much wrapped everything up until we get to like the climax with the rebels. We've talked
Yeah,
about everything, I think.
I've got a couple more lines for you if you want.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
There was one other, like I remember it's before the attack, I guess, when it's Amber and Schwarzenegger just walking around like in the middle of this wasteland. She's like, "You should have just gone to Hawaii." And he's like, "I had the shirt for it, but you fucked it up."
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so good this. I fucking love this film.
And there was one other one. You definitely probably have a note on this. I don't know what I think of it.
Go on.
Where when they meet up with the rebels, and Amber reveals that she has the original footage of
Oh,
when
oh
oh
yeah.
no, of when Ben is accused of killing all these people in Bakersfield, and they're like,
Yes.
where did you hide
Yeah.
that? It's none of your business. So like, okay, so we're assuming that she just shoved it up her
Yeah.
pussy then. Is that what we're doing here? Do we really need this? I
I
don't know
mean,
what to think
would
of
it?
this.
But this is a. No, but this is the thing. She gets caught finding it, and
So
that's
how should she
why she
still have
gets
it?
put in the game. Exactly.
So she
Why?
shoved it up
Like
her pussy
you would have.
real fast.
Right, but if we're to assume that these bad guys are as bad as they say they are, they'll get it back. They'll retrieve it before putting her in the game. Like it's important evidence that makes them complicit in the massacre of 60 people. So, and again, like if you don't know she has it, why put her in the game? You must know she has it to put her in the game. So why does she still have it in the fucking game? And also, who filmed Whitman, Price, and Haddad when they reveal that they're dead? Because it didn't look like there were any cameras in that room.
Well, that's where the fake stuff probably came in.
They
They
just
probably faked
they
it
they
somehow.
just they just reuse the footage that is the movie. They don't put like a perspective of a CCTV camera or anything. It's just the same shot of the movie reused as if it's footage within the
Mm.
movie. And it's that sort of stuff I really don't like. That feels lazy to me. You've got millions of dollars to make a film. Just get one extra shot that looks like it's a CCTV. So yeah. So when they should we talk about the rebels,
Go on.
or should we do one more line? I've got one more line
You-
actually
Go on to me. Give it.
about what's his name, Fireball. When Arnie kills him, he throws like a torch at him and says, "How about a light?" And then he explodes, and then Arnie goes, "What a hothead!" And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you just did your one-liner. You just did it. You pick one, two, just greedy.
Wait, I have
Do
more.
one.
Come back. I have more one-liners for you. That we can do more than one take and we can put the best one in, or maybe we can use both.
I, I'm very good at improv. Let me just do a few different things. You pick the best one, and guess what? You'll have to pick two, because they'll be that good. So they meet
I
up
could
with
do
the
this all
rebels
day.
straight. I could do this all day, but that when they meet up with the rebels, I think it's weird that the rebels' base is within the game, like they're in the zone, right? That's a bit weird. Are they tunneling under? because we've met those rebels earlier in the film when they helped them get their neck bombs off. So how are they suddenly in the game and they're in a rebel resistance in the zone of the Running Man game, and the Running Man TV executives don't know about it? And how is it that they didn't know about the upload bollocks if they're based in the zone? I mean, again, like, they can't go out and explore because of all the cameras, but, you know, I thought it was weird that the rebels are suddenly in the game.
I didn't
And
really think
they're
it too
posted up.
strange. I mean, I think that they would have had
Then we
bases
have
everywhere.
We'd have to assume that they're like tunneling in or something.
Yeah, I would
Because
assume that as well.
it must be like a closed space, otherwise they can escape again.
Yeah.
So how are the rebels there? How is anyone there? I don't know. Anyway,
But
I'm
there are
overthinking it,
lots
I
of
think.
like, but just even thinking about the bodies of the three guys who were winners before, why were they just left? Like, surely you'd get rid of them. You wouldn't leave them
Yeah,
just burnt out there. Just clear it up.
yeah.
So I don't
No, I
know.
don't disagree.
Maybe it's just a bit of laziness.
I mean, I think there's a lot of laziness in this film, but I don't think it comes from Arnie, except move makes. That does seem lazy. I didn't notice it though.
Bad move make.
Bad move make. Um. So okay. So this is the point where the rebels sort of hijack the broadcast, reveal the truth, and now like the audiences um are turning on Killian, and then the rebels show up with guns and Arnie, and they take the sound stage. This is that we also cut this in with that scene with Dynamo and Amber and the sprinklers. But Arnie, when he shows up, he goes, "Hello, cutie pie. One of us is in big trouble." That's also a line I love. So when he puts Killian, like he's going to kill Killian. They get all the
Mhm.
people out. It's just him and Killian on that sound stage. And Killian is like trying to talk Arnie into basically not killing it by talking about how it's just television, it's just for ratings, it's nothing personal, blah blah blah.
Mhm. Lies.
And yeah. And Killian just seems to be totally oblivious to the fact that Arnie is obviously setting up the little seat
Right.
projectile to send someone into the game. It's obvious he's setting it up. And
Yeah.
Killian is just not remotely taking notice of it. He's just talking about TV. And he seems so surprised when Arnie does finally put him in it. And
And
what
he
happened next?
explodes. He gets shot
He does,
down the
yeah, you're
tunnel.
right, yeah. So yeah,
But why does
he
that
gets
happen?
shot. So he gets shot down the tunnel, and so I've got it here. For some reason, the net that was originally there to catch the runners is no longer there. And it's like, well, they don't explain why that net isn't there anymore.
And there's
You know,
no way that
maybe,
Schwarzenegger would have known that. Like, how would he know that it was
yeah,
removed and he would crash to his death?
exactly. The only thing, does he strap him down?
I think it automatically does it, doesn't it? When you sit in the chair, like the locks just appear on your arms and your legs and strap you in.
Because I'm thinking, like, if he's not strapped down, then that would probably kill you at the speed you're going, even if you did get caught in the net, because you could probably get launched out of the chair. But if he's strapped down, then yeah, there really is no reason why Arnie would know. Unless maybe the rebels did it and it was planned.
Yeah, that
But they
it
don't
seems more
explain it.
personal. It seems more like a personal
It
thing,
does.
doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So I don't know. It's just they wanted an exciting way for someone to die. They wanted an explosion at the end.
Yeah.
And by the
But
way,
did you notice the explosion was he gets launched into a billboard of himself and he
yeah,
hits exactly in the center with his face. And then Arnie goes, "That hit the spot."
yeah,
So
yeah.
is that also being broadcast? How does he know that it hit the spot?
That's true.
Is
Actually, he has no
is
reason to
that
even know
being
that he died.
exactly like unless there's a live feed directly into the studio, how would he know?
And you'd have to
Why would
have
there
the
be a
right
live
camera
feed
on.
when there's Yeah, you'd have to have the
The
right
right.
camera on, and why would there be any live broadcast if the whole studio is getting taken over by rebels?
Hmm. Oh, a lot of problems with this
There's a
one.
lot they overthink. Yeah, there's a lot that they just gloss over or they don't think too hard about, and it would really serve the film if they just spent 2 seconds to do something that's not remotely ridiculous. But then the movie just sort of ends there, right? They Arnie and Amber kiss, and then like we see on a big TV, the broadcast ends, and it just says "Please stand by," and the film ends.
They were on TV the whole time. And by the way, this is the second film that we've now done, including Death Race, uh, where like to solve the problems of a violent society, you need to use violence.
Violence.
Like
Yep.
it's like the Killian is like the president
In Death
in
Race.
Death
Yeah.
Race. We kill him, we all cheer, and everything's over. It's done, and that's the end of the movie. And
Mm.
but yeah, there's no reason to expect anything has changed. Although this film is maybe more hopeful, I guess, than Death Race 2000, because the fact that
Mm.
the journalist or whatever, the host media personality guy, is killed kind of is a bit ambiguous that maybe society won't change. But this one, I think you just assume that it's a happy ending. The guy gets to go. Everything's fine.
Yeah, I think there's an air of optimism that like this will bring about change. Whereas Death Race, that it still doesn't allow itself to firmly suggest that everything's going to be okay. They still leave it a wee bit ambiguous. Whereas this, it's not. You do feel like society will change for the better now.
Yeah.
Should we rate this bad boy? I do.
Yes.
I do have one. I do have one small fun fact for you.
Go on.
Um, there's a character we haven't actually mentioned him, but there's a character called Sven, who is the like personal security of Killian. He pops up in a few occasions. He doesn't have any dialogue, or he just has like one line. But Killian bullies him quite a bit, makes a few jokes about him, like doing steroids, some weird shit.
Hmm.
And just to remind you of who he is, anyway. But his character name is Sven, and I noticed in the credits his real name is Sven. So Sven is Sven.
So I guess he's some kind
I
of
just thought
like a
that was
wrestler
sweet.
or something.
I assume maybe they kept his name because he is some kind of well-known personality. I just don't know him from anything. But
Mm.
perhaps he is like some kind of wrestler or something. I don't know. I'm not really into wrestling. Never have been.
A bit when I was a kid, but not enough to remember anything.
Mm. But yeah, do you want to rate this thing?
Yeah.
I think
I
I,
didn't.
I think I could guess what you would rate it. I think I could
Oh
get. I
yeah.
think I know.
Oh
I
yeah.
think I've got a. I've got.
I'm gonna
I
guess.
think I.
I'll
Yeah.
guess your rating and you guess mine.
Okay. I'll go first. I'll go first.
Go on then.
I. I think. I think you'll give this a 6.2. I think you appreciate it. I. I think you appreciate it, but it's still shit, and you can't get past the shit.
Okay.
Am I right? Am I
Well, I
close?
was. I was thinking about that number. I was thinking that you would think that I would think that number. So I was
Really?
laughing that you predicted what I was thinking that you was thinking that I was thinking. I bet
Interesting.
you're going to put this film at least at 7
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
because it's an Arnie movie, but you know it's not the
It
best
is an
Arnie
Arnie
movie.
movie. I mean, it has to be said, Arnie movies by default are a minimum of 7 because they're
Yeah.
Arnie movies.
Maybe you'd even put it at 7.5.
Interesting. Well, look, shall we reveal our real ratings?
Yeah, go on then. I'm going to give it a 6.2. You got me.
Yeah, got you,
Yeah,
got you.
I'll let you have a win
I just
today.
knew it. I know that you're. I know how you sort of work. I know how you rate stuff, and I know
I
that this isn't the kind of film that would get you excited enough to give it a higher rating. Like,
well,
I know
like
you're
it's
not really an
definitely
Arnie guy.
it's definitely in the sixes. I think 7 is a bit high for it. Even 7.5 may be a touch high. So I think 6.2 is a nice number for this.
I mean, for me, I would definitely say this is probably in his top 10 films, but like probably 10th. Um, the dialogue has its moments, but it's not well written. Um, I think Death Race 2000 is a good example of a similar film that's actually quite well written, considering it's a tongue-in-cheek, silly film that's a comedy. And this one is, less a comedy, and like the humor sort of comes from the Schwarzeneggerisms, like the one-liners and stuff. And that's just sort of with the territory of casting Arnie. Um, so that's also quite important to have in an Arnie film. But sometimes those one-liners can detract, and they do detract in this one. But then you do have some fucking great one-liners that I will quote for the rest of my life. The whole "eat the contract" line just cracks me up.
Can you give
Uh,
it to us one last time?
yeah, I do. I live to see you eat the contract, but I hope you leave enough room for my fist because I'm going to ram it in your stomach and break your goddamn spine. Fucking great. Fucking great. But he's got like all of his movie. I'd say Conan is probably the movie that's written the best in terms of dialogue, at least. Um, but what do I give this? I think you probably got me with a 7, but I do agree that it's not a 7. There's too many
Oh,
issues, and I think I have to put it personally. Just knowing, if I'm totally subjective, I'm going to go for like a 6.8. However,
oh.
I'm not subjective when it comes to Arnie films. So my rating would probably be a 7.5. But I think
Nice stepping
6.8,
in.
I think, and if I'm perfectly honest, I do think 6.8 is probably overrating it as well. I'm probably still adding my personal opinion into there a little bit, but I do like the commentary of it. I really like it when movies sort of use the media to reflect reality. So, I like a lot of the stuff that they're putting down in this film. So I still would give it a 6.8, with my subjectivity being slightly involved in my objectivity, I guess.
You want to know the
But
actual
totally,
rating on IMDb?
I'm going to say it's probably a 6.2.
Yeah, is that your
I
final
reckon.
guess?
Well, I mean, again, I guess that you would say 6.2 because you probably rate things. I think you more often than not rate things closer to their IMDb rating anyway. So I'll still say
Maybe.
6.2 on. You know what? No, I'm going to go 6.7. I'm going to go 6.7. Something's
All
telling me
right.
6.7. I don't know what. The universe has just like got into my brain and went, no, don't say 6.2. Give it an extra half. Your boy Arnie needs you. So yeah, 6.7.
I'll tell you this, you're closer than me, and both of us. Oh, sorry, you're just one above actually. It's 6.6. So I rated it too low, and you rated it just a teensy bit too high. 6.6 out of 10.
Okay, so you know what then? I'm quite pleased with that. I'm quite pleased. All right, well, should we call it one, Craig?
We shall, yes. And I
Should we
think
call it?
if we do other
Let's
Arnie
do it.
movies, I'm wondering if it will run as long as this one. This one's like we've been recording for almost an hour and a half, and it's like, okay, next Arnie movie, I know Tobias is going to have a ton of
What?
stuff to say. Yeah,
Oh, mate, no, I don't like that. I've been like an hour behind in my head. All right, sorry. Let's wrap
I
it
thought
up.
we've been doing it for 30 minutes.
Oh, mate. No, like I just looked at the time and I'm like, I really didn't think it was that late. Oh, my bad, my bad. I really thought we were going to do this much quicker. All right, well, that was The Running Man, one of my all-time favourites. I absolutely love Schwarzenegger. Craig, I'm glad to have watched this with you finally. Is this your first time watching it?
I think I had seen it like more than 15, 16 years ago or something. I remember watching it, I think, when I was a teenager, but I'm not sure I watched the whole thing, to be honest.
Well, I'm glad you've managed to catch up, and I would love to do some more Arnie films with you. But as you've discovered, I'll have a lot more to say. I do think I think Running Man. I've written the. I'll say I wrote the most notes for Running Man than any of the films in 2024 that we've done.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but most of it's like one-liners. I actually didn't cover most of it, and we still ran on this long. Well, thanks everyone for coming out to listen to us. We are Film Shrapnel. Go check us out on all the social medias, all the podcasting services. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok. We are present everywhere. Craig, do you have anything to say to the lovely listeners?
Stay tuned for more deathmatch episodes coming up pretty soon.
Well, let's call it a day. Thanks everyone for listening, and until next time, I'll be back. He'll be back. We'll all be back. Loud.
Only in the rerun.
Bye.
Bye.
Shrapnel.